Hey guys, Magnus Robert here, bringing you another video. Today I'm going to be doing my initial review for the Treehouse of Horror XXXIII, aka Halloween, or Treehouse of Horror 2022. So, I think this update so far has been pretty good. I think there's definitely some flaws here and there for sure. I touched on this in my premium gameplay for the Headless Horseman, but I don't like, I think his character could have been improved just with some minor tweaks. But yeah, I think this update for the most part is pretty damn solid. It's one of the better Halloweens we've got in a while for sure. But I still don't think the update's like amazing or anything. I think there's definitely are things they could have done to make it a little bit more solid. It still feels a little loose, like every Halloween and Christmas update always feels. Like, it doesn't follow a theme necessarily, and I think sometimes that kind of really hinders it, and sometimes they pull it off. I think this is somewhere in between, where there isn't really a theme to this one, in terms of the items at least. Like, you know, the items don't have a theme, like magic, for example, that we got one year. But I definitely think they have, for the most part, pulled it off, at least so far, in the way they've connected everything. But yeah, we're going to go through it all, talk about the sort of first act at least, and kind of my general impressions of the update so far. Obviously then, at the end of the update, when I do my content list, I'll give my overall thoughts, but the initial thoughts tend to tell, basically, what the update is. Sometimes my opinions will change on certain items, and maybe, you know, aspects of the update as a whole, but yeah, normally the initial thoughts are normally quite telling. So let's get into it. We'll be obviously looking at the structure and theme first. I'll be talking about that. Then we'll talk about the characters. I don't have a showcase just because my town's such a mess, but I'll just kind of talk about the first prize track at least, and all the decorations in that when I do my thing. When I do my look at the prize track, and we'll look at the characters briefly as well, the ones to come. We can maybe also look at the buildings to come as well, and just talk about what I'm excited to see in the following acts. And I might touch briefly on the mystery box too. And yeah, so let's get into it properly. Okay, starting off with, we have our structure and our theme. So I think structurally wise, this update is, at least the first act, is very, very solid. I like this a lot. Now, a lot of people are complaining about the facades taking up, or there's so many facades in this update. I actually really love this. I think having an update that has quite a fair few facades, I think is okay, because we haven't had many in years, and especially if they're like really, really cool facades. So to start off with, we have the Krusty Land Halloween Horror Night facade, and honestly, I love this one so much. I'm so glad that they actually added this as a facade. They could have added it as a separate entrance, and I think that could have been cool to see as well. I really do wish though you could like buy a second Krusty Land entrance. That's not really a criticism of this update, but it could have been kind of cool if they maybe gave us like a second entrance. I know there's the Itchy and Scratchy one, but like an actual second Krusty Land one. But I think this is cool as a facade nonetheless. I think that's awesome. The Halloween headquarters bundle, I think, is really, really cool that we get the Columbus Day building, but also the Halloween headquarters building as well. It's weird because I know that we have the Halloween HQ, which is like a similar store, so I'm kind of glad that they actually added a facade for the Columbus Day one, because they're so similar, those two buildings. They are separate, but they're very similar. One we had in the game a while ago. But I'm really glad that they've actually added that as a facade for this building. That just is really cool. The Halloween Horror Night billboard, little bit of a crappy prize for the prize track, can't lie. I think if they're going to add billboards, they really should be as like bundles, but it only takes, there are bundles to come, but whatever. The seasonal workers, again, a little bit of a crappy prize, but whatever. And then you finish it off with Willie the Riveter, and I actually quite liked his costume. I don't think it really fit that well in the update. I think his inclusion is questionable, but I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't think it was amazing. I think it's a step above meh, and that's my opinions on that costume for Willie. So yeah, that's the first act, obviously. Pretty solid so far, but what is to come? So Act 2 is looking pretty decent. There's two buildings, a really cool decoration, the Jack-O-Lantern Bouncy House, and of course the toilet papered Flanders house as a facade, and of course Mopey Mary. I think Act 2 looks pretty damn solid. Act 3 has Father Ben as a character to start it off with, and then it's got, I think, 2 buildings, the Luxury Crypt and the Crate and Burial, and then you also have just decorations, the Springfield Forever Cemetery and the Ghost Cemetery. Both look pretty cool. And then Act 4 is, I think, probably the weakest, maybe. There's only 1 building, the Abandoned Lighthouse, and obviously you also have the Sideshow Chicken. I probably would say Act 4 is looking like the weakest, but it does have the Bottomless Pit, which I'm actually excited to get to, because it's kind of one of those classic items. But yeah, not too bad. So I want to touch on characters. I know I've looked at them before, and obviously a few of these I can't really say for. I can kind of give a general, you know, how excited I am to get them, but I can't really give my definitive opinion on these characters just because some of them we haven't played yet. Now, to start off with, obviously, the way the wikis, obviously thanks to the wiki as usual, but the way the wiki is structured is it shows the 3 characters first, so let's look at the 3 characters first. So obviously we have Mopey Mary, who's coming next act. I know that she's a more modern one, she's meant to be a parody of The Ring. I'm personally interested to see what they do with her. I know some people are kind of like rolling their eyes, like, oh god, it's, you know, it's one from the recent Treehouse of Horror that no one really seemed to like, but I'm actually interested to see what they do with her. Father Ben, I'm similar. I think it'd be interesting to see what they do with him too. Yeah. Sideshow Chicken, I think he looks kind of cool, but it really should be a costume. It's one of these things that really annoys me. I'm fine with them. I've kind of accepted now making like younger or older versions of the characters. I'm fine with that instead of making them costumes, because every older and younger character, I think they've all of them have been made as characters, not costumes, I believe. And then apart from maybe like Hellfish 8 or Gorgeous Grandpa, I think maybe, because that's like a younger version of Grandpa, I swear. And then you have, of course, the sort of the doppelganger characters, but are separate characters. So, for example, like Mabel Simpson and you know, what was it, like Advisor Frink and all those ones. Them being separate characters, I think, is I've accepted that just because they are technically different people. But when it comes to like this, like Halloween, like non-canonical kind of appearances like this, I really think they should just be costumes. It's weird that it's a separate character, so I'm not too happy with Sideshow Chicken being a character, but we'll have to see how cool he is. Then we get onto the premiums. So the Headless Horseman, I talked about this in my Headless Horseman video. I wasn't too fond of him. I didn't think he was bad. I think he's still a good character, but I really wish that he would walk around the town with his pumpkin in his hands like he does in his unlock screen, and not on his head, because he's called the Headless Horseman, yet he has a head, and he doesn't have a goddamn horse. He's literally the horseless headman is what I called him, because he is. He's got no horse, and he doesn't even have an animation with his horse, yet in the episode that he appears in, we see his horse. So where's his horse? I mean, even if they added the horse as a separate NPC, that could have been cool. But no, there's no horse. They really should have at least one animation with the horse. Both his animations also are very similar, so I said he's okay. I think he's pretty mediocre, to be honest. I think I'm going to retract my okay statement. I think he's mediocre. I think he's a very mediocre character. I just don't like it's more that he feels like wasted potential. I think that's my biggest issue, because you could have had like a really, really cool animation with the with his horse. Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft. I'm excited to see what they do with these two guys. Obviously, they're real life people, real life poets and authors. So yeah, I'm just excited to see. Then we got Mad Dr. Itchy and Frankenscratchy. I think Frankenscratchy also had 2 very similar animations. I think I might be mixing up those 2. Headless Horseman's were fairly similar-ish, though. Frankenscratchy's, his ones were basically identical. The animations were, I was kind of underwhelmed with both of them. And to be honest, I don't think he's worth it, and he should be a skin. I'm going to say it. Mad Dr. Itchy should be a skin, and so should Frankenscratchy. I think there's actually more of a reason for these being skins, because they're literally like cartoon characters that don't even exist in the real show, so like you could do anything and make them skins. I really don't like that now we're going into the realm of like Itchy and Scratchy potential costumes are being added as characters. That's just weird to me. So we're going to have doppelgangers for Itchy and Scratchy now? It's insane. And how cool would it be to get a costume for Itchy? Like, if they wanted to, they could throw this in the, this is premium anyway, so throw it in the store for premium, and then have a combo option where you can get Itchy and Mad Dr. Itchy and the building that he comes with. That would be really, really awesome. And same with Frank and Scratchy. You could still add him as super premium, but have this, like, little extra thing that if you don't have him, not only do you get Frank and Scratchy, you also get Scratchy and the cartoon set. So, like, either way, you're making, like, they're getting a character for super premium. I don't know. I just think that would have been way better. And yeah, you're making Scratchy super premium for an event, but it's only for this event that he's going to be super premium, but it's coming with the Frank and Scratchy. So, I think, personally for me, these two are, I think, the most offensive ones to me. I say offensive, but the ones I'm most annoyed about, I think these two for sure should have been costumes, and Frank and Scratchy at least was pretty crappy anyway, so not too happy with those two. We'll touch on buildings real quick. I don't want to get too in-depth with this, because really buildings, I can briefly touch on it, why not? So, obviously, we've got quite a few buildings. Columbus Day HQ, I think, was pretty cool. It's just a standard store, really, but I liked it. And then kind of moving over to the premium ones there, the Springfield Costume Shop was pretty nice, too. Again, a bit of a standard store, but fairly decent. And I like how both, buildings kind of relate. They're very, close, because they're both sort of costume and decoration. They're in similar realms, so I like how they kind of are similar there. Spine Chills, the little neighborhood, or the two houses we're getting, that one looks cool. I think that's awesome to get. The Spook House looks nice. The Crate and Burial looks pretty cool. The Luxury Crypt I don't care for, just because we got so many crypts and stuff before. I just don't care. Abandoned Lighthouse, I have to see how it looks, but yeah, I think I'm fairly happy to see that in the game. Yeah, I'm happy enough with that. And then, obviously, we've already talked about the costume shop. We got the House of Usher. Looks pretty awesome, to be honest. The Fogbury Port Pier. I really hope this connects to the water. If it does, I'll be happy enough. Mad Dr. Itchy's castle. Looks okay, I suppose. So, yeah, those are the buildings. We have the mystery box. Now, I've heard a few things. Some people say this mystery box is really, really awesome, brings back a lot of things. Some people are saying it's only really brought back a few things. For me, obviously, my sort of alternative town, my alt account, that one is I've had that for just over a year, so I did experience last Halloween, and I will say that there was a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff in the mystery box. So if you obviously only started last year, you're going to have a lot of stuff, but then for people playing a few more years than that, there won't be as much. But then that's always the case anyway. I think it's a good kind of I'm pretty happy with it, because considering in that town I literally got everything from the mystery box last year, and I this year I had like quite a lot of stuff in there. I think that's for me anyway, I'd say that's a good indication it was fairly decent. And even some people who've been playing for ages, they had a few items here and there too. Now, even my original account, if you didn't know, years ago, I got bored with one of those Halloween events, and I didn't do the little Lisa Dig prize thing, and I didn't get Mummy Wiggum. So even now, like, Mummy Wiggum is the only costume I didn't have in the game. And now I have Mummy Wiggum, so I have every character in the game, apart from Muscular Millhouse, which I never bought. I never could be bothered buying that super premium. But then they brought it back, and I still didn't buy it. And now I really wish I went back and bought it, so I could have said I had every character in the game. But I digress. This mystery box is fairly decent, I think. Obviously, there's characters like Hugo, who's in there. Like I said, the Mummy Wiggum costume, Count Grandpa, Gelatinous Homer, Malicious Crub. There's quite a few like cool characters in there. I really do wish though that Kang was re-added. This is a big criticism that I'm always going to have, but why Kang has not been added is a mystery to me. I really think they need to add Kang back to Halloween. It's been many years since. I think it might have been. Is it 3 years now, or is it 2 years since they've last added Kang? It's ridiculous. Kang should be coming back. Kang and Kodo should be in every Halloween. It's especially considering they have costumes. Like I have like 2 Kang costumes in my inventory in my alt account, which I can't use because Kang's never re-added. So Kang should be re-added. And just as a side note, I'm pretty happy with the store. I think that's been pretty awesome. You know, lots of stuff in there. Obviously, a lot of it is donuts, but they've added quite a bit of it. They added at least the Halloween HQ. They added that for cash, which was kind of cool to see. I do wish a lot less of it were donuts. I think too much of the items are donuts. They do need to have some cash items. I remember like Halloween's years ago, there would always be like loads of cash items in the store, but now it's like majority donuts. I think they really should change that, especially some of the items, like for example the Hell Scientists. Who the hell wants them? Like really, who the hell wants the Hell Scientists really? Unless you're like trying to collect every item. I think they should be, for example, those should be added as cash because they were in the prize track in the original update anyway, so they were free regardless. Just add them as cash. It's not really a critique solely of this update. It's pretty much of every update in the last like 3-4 years. They've just made too many items donuts in my opinion, and I think a lot of them should be cash. But anyway, let's kind of wrap up my thoughts on this update as a whole. Now, like I said, there's definitely some strong points in this update. I do think this is one where I have to wait and see to kind of give my proper verdict, but so far I think it's good, just not great. I think there's a lot of things in here that are a little iffy to me, but I love the general feel of this update, I will admit. I love the fact that the splash screen looks cool, they've brought the music back with no troubles this year, you know, the sort of misty, foggy, and the water changes and all that is there, and the leaves and the autumn and all that, you know, going across your screen. You know, the atmosphere is there, and I do feel like this one is a real little, you know, it's a real Treehouse of Horror update. It feels Halloween-y. I think I talked about this before, but I think it could have been cool if they honed in a little bit more on the, you know, fictional people that they added. I think adding like Orson Welles and also Alfred Hitchcock instead of adding Mad Dr. Itchy and the Headless Horseman, I think that would have been a much better approach. So if you want the Headless Horseman, add the Headless Horseman. You know, obviously I know the quest line and all that. Everyone always goes on about the quest line, but change the quest line. The quest line, no one really cares about the quest line, to be honest anyway. Change the quest line. Make the Headless Horseman be the final prize instead of that costume for Willie. And then, obviously, instead of having Mad Dr. Itchy and instead of having obviously the Headless Horseman's been moved around, have Alfred Hitchcock added with something and Orson Welles added with the KBBL tower from that one segment. I think that would have just been like a much better, you know, it makes the event kind of feel a lot more connected. But that's just me. Also, Edgar Allan Poe, I'm the House of Usher, I suppose that makes sense for him to be added with. I do wish he was added with the birthplace of Edgar Allan Poe, though, just because, yeah, like, obviously, House of Usher is, like, a story that he wrote, and so you're giving a real-life person with a fictional thing that they talked about. And same, I guess, with H.P. Lovecraft, he's kind of been added with, I don't really know if is Fogbury a thing in Lovecraft stories, I'm not sure, but he's been added with like a fictional thing, even though he's a real life person. I just think it's a small thing, but whatever. Anyway, thanks for watching. Tell me your thoughts on the update. Like I said, I think this one is decent. I think I do need to see the rest of it to kind of give the rest of my thoughts. I think it's a good update. I just don't think it's a great update. I think it's pretty standard. Anyway, but it is better than a lot of Halloweens that we've got in the past, I'll admit that. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.